All right, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. Good evening, and welcome to a forum on the UTLA elections. My name is Kaiya Bailey. I work at 107th Street Elementary School in South, and I'm currently a BSAT Pupil Services and Attendance Counselor. I've been involved in Educators for Racial Justice for a couple of years now, and so today my role is one of the moderators.
Hi, everyone. My name is Henry Garcia. I am a fifth grade teacher at 107th Street. I'm a colleague of Kaiya's. I've been involved in Educators for Racial Justice since February 2021, and today I'm also one of the moderators. Before we get started, I just want to provide a brief intro of our history as Educators for Racial Justice, or E4RJ. So E4RJ, we started in March of 2021. We are a group of rank and file UTLA members who wanted a space to talk about how to make sure UTLA is prioritizing racial justice issues. And we wanted a space to make connections with racial justice movements on the ground in LA, like Students Deserve and BLM LA. We're a group that's committed to fighting for racially just, trauma-informed, and police-free schools. This means that we challenge ourselves to discuss and reflect on our experiences in schools from a racial justice lens. We understand that every issue from curriculum, classroom environment, staffing, privatization, and educator salaries is a racial justice issue. And you're invited to join. Come check us out as Educators for Racial Justice. We meet about 3 times per semester. And I invite everybody to mark your calendars for our next E4RJ meeting, which is taking place on Monday, March 6th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. So now I'm going to go ahead and just talk about the purpose and goal for today's forum. So our purpose today is to give an opportunity for UTLA candidates to lay out their vision for racial justice. There's going to be an official debate among official candidates held by the UTLA Elections Committee. This is not that. Today, we invited a small number of prominent candidates who have presented themselves as fighters for racial justice. E4RJ is composed of rank and file educators, and we want the racial justice lens to be prioritized during negotiations with the district in our contract campaign and beyond. And one way to achieve this is by helping elect union leaders who are in alignment with this work. So today we get to hear ideas from some of the most prominent candidates in the most competitive races in this election, and we get to hear from them about their commitment to racial justice. In this forum, we also invited leaders from BLM LA and Students Deserve. And we were intentional in doing so because it's crucial that racial justice movements inform our work as educators and our UTLA campaign.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the format. We do have questions, yes. Some of those questions will go to all of our panelists tonight. Some questions will be directed only to the 4 panelists who are candidates for UTLA office. There will be one question directed at the community members on our panel, and that question will be followed by asking our 4 candidates to respond to what they heard from those community members. And we will also be taking questions submitted from the audience. The order for responding to each question will change to give every candidate an opportunity to go first, and we'll make sure to announce that order after we read each question. Candidates will get 2 minutes to respond to each question, and at the minute 45 mark, one of the moderators will say, please wrap up in 15 seconds, and then at the 2-minute mark, we will say thank you, and it is expected that the panelists will stop. And again, you can submit questions using the Q&A feature in our Zoom webinar. We are having the comments turned off during this webinar. We decided to use this format just to protect the safety and well-being of all of our panelists and those of us attending tonight. You'll notice some of the comments from the attendees feature is also off. And so this decision was made to foster just a spirit of positivity and respect throughout the forum. And we don't want to get distracted by comments and focus more so on what is being said. And, during virtual meetings, in-person gatherings, the possibility of being Zoom bombed, trolled, or harassed exists. And so that's the reason for the comments being off tonight. That especially is true for women of color doing racial justice work. And so tonight we want to shield our panelists from experiencing obscene or racist rhetoric. Instead, we want to honor, elevate, and engage with the great work of our panelists. So that said, as a reminder, you can submit those questions and we will have an opportunity to ask some of those. But before that, let's go ahead and introduce our amazing panelists and get into this. So our panelists today, we have Cecily Myart-Cruz, current UTLA president, running for re-election.
We also have Denisha Jordan, longtime activist in the Valley, running for UTLA treasurer.
Next is Alex Orozco, current UTLA treasurer, running for UTLA secondary vice president.
Rosa Jimenez, current North Area Chair, running for UTLA Secondary Vice President.
Tonight, we also have Dr. Melina Abdullah, Cal State LA professor and co-founder of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and national leader of BLM Grassroots Network.
And we also have Lakell White, 11th grader at Dorsey, captain of the Dorsey basketball team, and longtime student leader in Students Deserve, and an all-around movement leader.
We wanted you to know we also invited Gloria Martinez, who is running for treasurer, to participate tonight. She wanted to be here, but had an important personal matter come up that she had to attend to. So let's go ahead and get started with our first question. This first question is for all of the panelists. What is your vision for UTLA as it relates to the fight for racial justice? And the order for answering that will be as follows: Cecily, Alex O, Rosa, Denisha, then Dr. Abdullah, and then Lakell.
Thank you, family. Appreciate being here. Yes, my name is Cecily Myart-Cruz. My vision for UTLA is that we strive to be anti-racist, that we build community schools that are sustainable, that we create the platforms for Black student achievement, that we have the resources and that it is concretized in our contract, and that we must have safe and just schools. We have to center our student voices. We have to embolden our members. We do that by member education, political education, and we must challenge systemic racism in our schools so that our babies can focus on learning and not fearing criminalization within our schools.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. First of all, just an honor to be here in front of so many folks I respect and hold dear, folks that I've admire and been a part of moving forward and moving this unit in the direction that we need to continue moving it in. Yeah, my vision for UTLA is to build on what we've been able to build on what we've been able to accomplish, but we're not there yet. Absolutely, continue funding community schools, continue the funding of our BSAP schools, continue absolutely fighting for racial and social justice, gender justice, protecting our LGBTQ communities, absolutely continue fighting the privatization that is absolutely an attack on our communities of color, and that is taking valuable resources from our students and our communities. And of course, just continue building power as a second largest unit in the country. We're in a moment in history right now where we've been able to show exactly what that looks like. We have an incredible package right now of proposals in our Beyond Recovery platform that really addresses, and it's really, was developed with the racial justice and educational justice lens that every one of our members has their fingerprints on that incredible platform that if we win, we will definitely just be incredibly ahead of the game when it comes to providing our students the
Please wrap
absolute.
up in 15 seconds.
Just we need to provide our students the education they deserve. As an immigrant child that showed up here, 7 years old, I absolutely know what it takes and know what our students are going through.
Thank you.
Want to make sure, yes, thank you.
It's my turn, yeah?
Yes.
And it's 2 minutes, right? I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's an honor to be here. Dr. Abdullah and Lakell and everybody else here on the panel. Yeah, I agree with what folks have said. I know and I see that right now our union is a very powerful force in our city and in the country, and we're looked at as one to be mimicked, right? To be replicated, and that's a powerful thing. And I think we didn't get here on our own, right? We looked and we followed and we listened to the movements that were happening in the streets, right? We listened to students, we listened to community folk who said, you have to, do something about policing, right? You have to do something about mental health. You have to do something about getting more counselors. And I think my vision for when I become secondary vice president is that we do that, and we do that even better. I think we could get better at listening to our students and our parents and our families. I think that we can learn like how to be better organizers from folks who have been doing this for a long time. I believe that community schools, as Cecily says, are those places where we can have those critical conversations between parents and students and teachers. And we must include political education in that. Because our members, are great in many ways, and we have a long way to go in trying to understand how anti-Blackness exists in our classrooms. And as UTLA president, I really want to continue to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank the attendees for giving up their time this evening to listen to us and to take the time to really want to learn more about what our future looks like in UTLA. For me, first and foremost, is centering the needs of our students. That's what I envision UTLA in the future, centering the needs of our students. And that looks like supporting our teachers and our communities. And that also means making sure that like BSAP and community schools are fully funded. I think I see us winning our Beyond Recovery platform, which has all those things in there, which does center the needs of our students. I also feel like we need to invest more in anti-bias and anti-Blackness trainings, not only for staff within UTLA and our members, but throughout. I think that we need to actively recruit BIPOC educators, specifically those that support racial and social justice. I also think that we need to actively engage and support our current BIPOC educators so that we can retain them, because that's what's needed in education right now. I also think that we should work on, as treasurer, future treasurer, I will hope to increase the revenue so that we can provide access to services and conferences for our teachers to get that training. And then lastly, at the national level, I feel like we could use our power and our influence to fundamentally transform education at the national level, which is needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I next, or is Lakell next?
Dr. Abdullah, you're next.
Great. So I am deeply honored to be here. I'm honored to be on with some of the people who are the most important folks in my life. In addition to organizing with Black Lives Matter and being a professor, I'm also a parent of 3 students in LAUSD schools. Well, one graduated now, but 2 are still there. And I'm grateful for who all of you all are. I'm also a member of a fellow educators union, California Faculty Association. I'm going to see if I can squeeze in a story really quickly. My vision for racial justice within UTLA and within our schools and as a parent is some of the work that's already moving under the really phenomenal and courageous leadership of Cecily and all of you who serve in UTLA leadership, and those of you who serve as really important counselors and teachers to my own children. I want to tell the story of my daughter, Amara, who just a few years ago had the police called on her in the classroom a total of 8 times in a single semester when she was a student at Laces. She went from being traumatized and being targeted to helping to lead some of this work as a leader in Black Lives Matter Youth Vanguard and a member of Students Deserve, and now is supported and sees her BSAP counselors as some of the most important people in her life. She just celebrated her 16th birthday, had a rites of passage program, and was allowed to invite 5 women who were important to her. In addition to me and her aunties and her big sister, she invited Miss Tyler, who is her BSAP counselor. She's influenced by Miss Lewis, who I know is on this call right now. And so my vision for racial justice includes ethnic studies, it includes Black Student Achievement Program, it includes fully funding community schools and all of the work that's underway and doing that in solidarity with everyone who's also as committed.
Thank you. Sorry, Lakell, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. You want to come a little closer to the mic?
Can you hear me now?
Amazing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting back from a basketball game. I got to get it together.
All right.
I would like UTLA to continue to support and listen to Black youth. I feel like oftentimes we're forgotten and we're left in the dark and we're not able to be in these conversations. So I think that that's very important to continue to uplift Black voices. I like UTLA to throw down and to help Black students like myself fully defund the LAPD. We know how racist that system is and how corrupt the system is and how it targets Black students and how it does not help our Black students and how it doesn't give them all the resources that they need to be the best student that they can be. And also in expanding BSAP, I feel like BSAP is such an amazing program. And I think that it can be so much better with the right resources, more money, more funding and things like that. It can be so much bigger than what it was. And finally, I like UTLA to continue to be an example as to how racial and social justice can look around the country. Just by you listening to me today, you can help someone that's somewhere you can even imagine, all across the country. So just continue to be an example as to how other school districts should be supporting Black youth, listening to Black youth, and taking heed as to what they're saying.
Thank you.
Before we start with question 2, we want to just remind attendees that we are taking submitted questions by the audience. To submit a question, you can use the Q&A feature on Zoom. All right, so this next question is only for the 4 candidates on the panel. What has your work for racial justice looked like? And what do you plan on focusing on in the coming years as it relates to racial justice broadly and the fight for Black students in particular? For this question, we're going to be following the order, starting with Alex, then Rosa, Denisha, and then Cecily.
Thank you, Henry. I'm very proud as the treasurer of UTLA and prior to that, board director for the Valley East area. I mean, I'm very proud of the work that we've been committed to in working with Reclaim Our Schools Los Angeles. Absolutely making sure that investing in those anchor organizations that are many of are here today. Student Deserve, ACE, Lane, that's a very, very important work that we need to continue making sure that it happens. As an officer, definitely I will continue making sure that that is a priority, and not just continuing, but looking at increasing, our investment for those incredible organizations. I'm also very proud of the work that I've myself as a leader in the Valley, from the Valley, that I've done. We talked about being intentional about identifying leaders, BIPOC leaders. Very proud of the transformation that has taken place since coming on to not only an officer of this union, but as a director, making sure that the Valley uplifts, women of color into leadership. We have seen that coming more and more. I'm very proud of that work. I'm also very proud of the work we've all done collectively, and myself too, individually, making sure that we push the envelope around the common good demands, the absolute commitment to fight the anti-criminalization of our students. As a parent,
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
Nothing hurt me more than having my little, 10th grade Samantha come in here, upset because she was searched, and she just had nothing. She had, unlike myself, who has had plenty of experience with police as a kid, she was not exposed to that, and she was very, very
Thank you.
traumatized. Yes.
I went into, I started the educational racial justice world as a RIF teacher in 2008, and we had to organize ourselves and speak to the fact that layoffs, right, as a result of the economic crisis, were disproportionately affecting students of color and teachers of color, right, at the time. So really highlighting how policies, right, like that, going back to 2008 when I started teaching, affected particular groups of people. As part of CEJ, and then Students Deserve, or really, I was supporting of student chapters and parent organizing to create a vision for schools that students deserve. I was, there when we, packed Dorsey High School to begin the campaign to end random searches. And now, pushing to defund the police, and trying to organize alongside teachers to get support for that. In our schools. And if I'm elected, I think that work is critical. We need to completely defund the school police. And we have a lot of work to do because we are facing a backlash. And I also want to make sure that, we have to realize we have thousands of immigrant students in LAUSD who are coming across the border, who are in need of mental health supports, language supports, so much. And we need to create the spaces for where students and families, Black students, brown students, immigrant students can talk to each other and share those experiences, right? So they can understand that the root of these problems are from the same place. And in LA, we're in a unique place, right? Where we interact with each other.
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
And again, I think that's why community schools, right, and BSAP are so important, so that we have those resources, we can support these students that are coming to us, and that we can fight together alongside each other and win.
I'll start with my work as far as we've been talking about defunding the school police. I think I was one of the educators that spent every Saturday for over a year, I believe, calling my colleagues to convince them why police are not needed or not necessarily, or the harm that they do in our schools. So I did that work. That's what I'm most proud of. Trying to change the hearts and minds of fellow educators. On the national level, I was invited to attend as a panelist for the National Black Caucus of Black Legislators, where I spoke the topic was truth in education, but I highlighted the necessity to remove police from all campuses, not just ours, but from all schools at the legislative level. I also speak up at the national conference for NEA, speaking up with the REACT committee, which is the Racial Equity Affairs Committee, again, highlighting the need to remove police from our schools. At the local level, I helped establish the racial justice at Los Angeles racial justice educators. I was critical in that startup. I also feel like when it comes to advocating for students of color, that needs to be number one on our priorities. And as treasurer, I'll make sure that we create spaces to provide services and trainings.
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
And resources for not only educators, but also community members and even students if necessary.
Thank you for the question. I've been a fighter all my life, but I've been fighting alongside parents and students and educators as a student in LAUSD, to a paraprofessional, and to an educator and an activist. After Michael Brown's murder, August 9th of 2014, I was asked alongside my colleague Erica Jones to co-lead the Racial Justice Task Force. Some folks on the call remember that. We were the ones who started that within UTLA. We decided, we knew that we needed student voices there. We also needed Black Lives Matter there and so forth, and Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. So we had a lot of coalitions there with us in that space. Through that, we created panels where we gave student voice. We stepped back and let the students lead because that's important. Also, students have been front and center in all of this work. Erica and I created Making Black Lives Matter in Schools workshops. We took that, we've taken that on to the affiliates. I've passed new business items, resolutions to concretize racial and social justice in the very foundation of all of the work that we have been doing. And so I want to specifically say that what Lakell brought up earlier around making sure that we have police-free schools that are free of criminalization of our youth, and that we must listen to Black youth.
Please
and
wrap up in
Black
15 seconds.
And brown youth. That must be super important. If elected, my team and I will further that work and listen to our youth. Thank you.
All right. So the following question will be asked first to Dr. Abdullah and Lakell, and then candidates will have an opportunity to respond afterwards to what they said. And so the order for the candidates will be Rosa, Denisha, Cecily, and then Alex. So candidates, just a heads up, take some notes, think about what you want to add. So here we go with the question. For context, between 2014 and 2020, UTLA and educators stood with Students Deserve and Black Lives Matter in the fight to end random searches, called for the school police department to be defunded and create the Black Student Achievement Plan. These were enormous and historic victories. But after these victories came in, and over the last year, fewer educators are showing up to actions focused on Black students. Dr. Abdullah and Lakell, what are you wanting from educators in the coming years? And what are you wanting from UTLA leaders in the coming years?
So over the course of the last 9 years, we've stood in ultimate solidarity, right? We've seen educators and students and teachers and parents and community all stand together and demand that our students, beginning with Black students, be treated with respect and love, because isn't that why we're educators? That we love our young people. We want our schools to be places of nurture. And so what we want to continue, and what we want from all of those who love our students, is to remember that love is a verb. Love means doing something. Love means advocating for our young people, even when it's not popular, even when we face backlash, even when our own bodies and careers are on the line. So it means advocating for an ethnic studies program that maintains the integrity of ethnic studies. It means completely defunding school police. It means continuing to say that Black students' lives matter, and we want a Black student achievement plan. It means demanding community schools. It means refusing to allow our schools to descend into places where our youth have targets on their backs. And so listening first to what our students say they need, and then putting everything that we have on the line to make that real. And so that's what we'd like to see from UTLA, UTLA's leadership, as well as the teachers that make up UTLA.
In 2020, it was very popular to like be in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and to support Black lives. I think the thing that people often forget is this work that we're shaping. It goes beyond the uprising. It goes beyond hitting the streets for 8 weeks. This is an everyday fight, an everyday battle until we get all the reparations, until we get everything that we rightfully deserve. So I think that it's still very important to show up for students. Like, if you maybe went to an action in 2020, like maybe, think about coming up, to another action again soon. We need more educators to support student deserved chapters. Like, yes, us as students, we're powerful leaders. We have the wills to do this, but it would be a lot easier on us as organizers and students who have other things going on to have educators support us and be that voice. We also like UTLA leaders to strategize with us regularly and not try to control our campaigns, but co-think with us on what we can build together. I think oftentimes, like, you might want to meet with a student, like, something's coming up or something like that, but strategize with us regularly, dig into our brains regularly, understand what we're thinking, understand our experiences regularly. That's something that we need. And we also need Black school members elected who represent us and not who stand on criminalizing Black youth and disrespecting us. These folks who are making decisions for us do not care about us. They do not love us. They don't have our best interests at heart. So it's very important that we get folks who care about us and who has our best interests at heart.
Thank you. And so starting with Rosa, then Denisha, Cecily, and Alex.
Oh my gosh, brilliance. Absolutely. And we as a union have the ability to choose, to support those board members, right? And I think a critical question to them needs to be, are you going to listen to students, all right? Or are you gonna disrespect them as they have been in the past over and over again? So I think we can do that. As a union, we can hold them accountable as well, right? As people who help to get them elected. And I think on the question of why, why we don't have as many teachers, right, out in the streets, and not to excuse, right, and any of this, but we and because people kept organizing through the pandemic as well, right? But I think what we have to do at our school sites, we have to have support teachers, to have educators, to have critical conversations around how their needs, right, around salary, around class size, around all these things that they feel are important are those that students feel are important too, and parents feel are important too, right? And how over policing of our students, about over investment in the military, right, et cetera, that impacts our salary demands, right, our ability to demand things from our government. And those conversations can build more leaders, and it can also deepen our political education at the sites. And all of those things, absolutely, we need to have critical conversations about are you in this profession for the right reasons? Like, are you here to really love and nurture our students? And those are hard conversations to have, but I think UTLA needs to
Please wrap up in
prioritize
15
those as
seconds.
well as helping people become better organizers amongst their members of their schools, and also with parents and students.
Well said, Rosa. For me, I want to start with I think my why. I'm choosing to run for officer in UTLA for the sole purpose of supporting not much as my students, but all students, specifically students of color, Black and brown students who've been left out for decades. I'm a student, I'm a graduate of LAUSD. My daughter went to LAUSD, and the time is now. If not now, then when? And at this point, then it'll never happen. And I feel like the reason why I want to become an officer is because I want to make the greatest impact to education that I possibly can. I know the impact that I have on my students in their lives every single day, just in the way that I advocate them at the school site, in the spaces where I'm able to advocate for them on the union level, even at the national level. But I feel as an officer, I can really make the greatest impact to really help our students. For me, my first priority is centering the needs of our students. And that may not go along well with all members, but that's my truth. And I feel like, especially as a Black educator, there are so many things that need to change within the system of education. And I feel like UTLA has positioned themselves to be able to do so. And I feel like with not only myself, but with the team that I'm running with, that we have not only the commitment, the motivation, the heart, and the desire to meet the needs of what Lakell is talking about, meeting the needs of our students through the programs that we've already tried to establish and the fight that we've been in for all this time.
Thank you.
Is it my turn now? Okay, great. Thanks so much. First and foremost, I want to thank you, Dr. Abdullah, for bringing out humanity and love as key pieces. That love is an action word, bell hooks. Let's remember that. And then Lakell, thank you so much, brilliant Black child, Black baby, for saying you have to show up and you have to listen. And sometimes we have to take our hands off the steering wheel and actually listen to the brilliance of our babies and respond. And so all of the things that were listed from 2014 to 2020 around random searches, that did not happen because of officers. I want to be clear that happened because students said, this is what we need, and can you come alongside us? So I want to put that out there. We must advocate. We have to show up. I hear you, Lakell, saying you have to regularly strategize. And so what I want to say is this officer team, we will have an officer appointed to come to Students Deserve meetings so that we can strategize with students so that we know what's going on, and we need you to come regularly to our meetings so that you can hip us to what is happening. That is going to be important. I also heard that we need to have Students Deserve chapters on every single school site.
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
We have to make sure that we're listening. And lastly, we've got to listen to our youth when we talk about police-free schools.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Abdullah and Lakell. Very, very, very important what you guys raise. This union, what we've been able to accomplish, I mean, we've been pretty unapologetic about us being a progressive social justice fighting union. I mean, our trajectory has been, just obvious when it comes to fighting for our students, for our communities, for our members. Back, we referenced 2014. Of course, that's when the transformation of this union, really went into real deep conversations around the schools that our LA students deserve. So we have to continue that, right? And we have, Cecily and I have had conversations around some board members, LA school board members that, actually never really actually believe our students when they're being, confronted with the truths. And we have to make sure that we confront and hold our board members accountable. It's taking risk is definitely something we have to continue doing. If you all recall, we were leading the fight against the anti-Trump, rhetoric, the racist rhetoric. We have to definitely have honest conversations with our members at school sites. We have to address unconscious bias, anti-Blackness, of course, absolutely. We have to definitely be intentional about all of that. As the treasurer, I'm very proud of what we did when Trump came into office. We went into.
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
We went and we definitely started supporting our dreamers, our DACA folks, and we need to continue doing that. But absolutely, I agree with a lot of what is said. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just want to take a moment to make sure we know our amazing student leader's name is pronounced Lakell. And Henry is going to take our first audience question. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kaiya. So for this first question from the audience, this is a question from Phyllis. The question reads, how can UTLA expand and recruit more parents, especially in schools that are not community schools, to be more involved in our fight for racial and social justice? I'll repeat the question one more time. How can UTLA expand and recruit more parents, especially in schools that are not community schools, to be more involved in our fight for racial and social justice? And the order that we're going to follow for this question will be Denisha, Cecily, Alex, Rosa, Dr. Abdullah, and then Lakell.
I think this is where it's important to get Student Deserve involved. And the reason why I say that, if not the students, the reason why I say Students Deserve is because their testimonies are very powerful. I think that it's easy as adults to discount the conditions that our students are experiencing. But when you hear it directly from them, it's hard not to be impacted, and not only impacted, but understand what their experiences are really like. And it's through understanding their experiences that I think we can get more parent involvement. As far as UTLA, what UTLA can do to get them into the schools, or to get them more involved, we could have more community engagement opportunities, not just like meetings where we're giving information or lecturing to parents, but where we actually engage the parents outside of our schools, but in a community-based way, in a meaningful way, where we're actually building the relationships with the parents and building community with the parents, and then bringing in our students to actually share their stories and experiences. And I think that will touch the hearts and minds of our parents, which will, they're parents. I believe that parents inherently care about kids. It's in our nature. And so I think that's a really good way to get parents more involved in the fight for racial justice.
Okay, thank you. I love this question. I think one of the biggest things, and that's been a part of my mantra, is around member education. But we cannot have member education without student voice. And I think we have a communications department, but what I want to see are students coming together. We need to come back to our racial justice conferences that we had at UTLA, where we had student presenters having panel discussions and so forth. We need that. And we need to close our mouth, and we actually need to listen to students. We need to have that recorded and put out. We need to make sure that we do member education, political education, and then we have to have parent trainings. And those parent trainings, having students leading in parent trainings, I think will be crucial. And lastly, we need book discussions. We need small articles to read and dissect and actually talk about when we say care, not cops. When we talk about invest versus divest, we need to have that coalescing to come together to really focus our attention on what students are saying and what they are bringing to the table.
Yeah, great question. One thing that every community has across the entire country, the one thing that every community has is a school site. And we have to be we have to continue. We've been doing a good job involving our parents, our communities, but we have to continue. And again, make sure that our educators understand how powerful building that rapport, that connection with parents really is, right? We can't just have parents come out, when we ask them. We have to build and invest in that relationship. But when we went on strike, I always tell folks, when we went on strike, we had over 60,000 people out in the streets, and we only have 35,000 members. So, we didn't clone each other. We were able to get our parents out there, and we need to continue that. One thing that I would definitely focus on is making sure that every school has an incredibly strong local school site leadership council where parents are at the helm, leading discussion, asking for resources, pushing the envelope on everything that school site needs, from more investment in curriculum, culturally relevant curriculum, assemblies that actually are impactful, field trips, everything else. That's how we're going to get our parents involved. We have to make sure that parents are also understanding that our fight for the best public education is about their children, right? It's about having the most prepared students, well-rounded students in the entire country. So we have to make sure that we continue investing in that. I mean, that's why
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
That's why our commitment to invest with Reclaim Our School LAs and those anchor communities is so critical. And I commit to continuing doing that.
Yes, Reclaim Our Schools LA is a powerful coalition. And I think definitely learning from what they do with work with parents and bringing in parent voice is absolutely critical. And I think in terms of like the school sites, right, the everyday school sites, I think teachers have relationships with parents, right, at schools, and we learn a lot about what issues that our parents are having. And I think we have to support educators to build on those relationships and bring them into the work that we're doing as UTLA. I think when UTLA also chooses to invest time into organizing around issues that affect parents the most, including housing, including immigration, including cleanliness in our neighborhoods, right? Like these are the things that we're hearing that parents are concerned about. They're concerned about safety. How do we listen to them and then bring those conversations to the schools? We know how to do parent forums, right? We did them with LCAP, right? We did them with lots of different things. And I think we can bring those back. And I think we can support teachers and students, right? And parents to co-lead them together at the sites.
Am I next? It's quiet. I'm not
Yes.
sure. Okay. So as a parent, I can say that the way to a parent's heart is through her children, right? The way to a parent's heart is through her children. When we see the work that's being done to substantively improve the conditions, improve the experiences, improve the education that our children are receiving, we want to be involved. We also want to make sure that our involvement is impactful, right? So parent forums are great. And how can you use me? I don't just want to sit in an auditorium or sit on a Zoom and listen. I want to know how I can be useful. How can I contribute to those conditions, to that education, to those experiences? And so I think making an ask of parents, we want to be asked to do specific things. And this is, again, not just about parental involvement, but parental organizing, right? So to organize people is to get them to act on their own behalf and in their own interests, right? And so parental interests are making sure that the conditions, experiences, and education that our students receive is impactful, is good, is positive, is nurturing, and we want to know how to contribute to that. I think when we're asked to do something for our kids, virtually every parent I know is more than willing to jump at that, and we love being in partnership with our children's teachers because we know that the children's teachers should be the second most important people in their lives.
If I can second with what the other panelists said and listening to Black youth, I think that as a community, we need to leave this space as a child needs to be seen and not heard. We're in the classrooms every day, we're in schools every day, we know what we're experiencing. If you actually take time to sit down and listen to youth like myself and my comrades, you will understand our experiences. Like if you actually listen, I think that you'll understand and you'll really kind of get an idea of what we experience. And also we need more spaces for Black and brown parents to organize. I think oftentimes there's this confusion like you know that students are forced to do the work that we're doing, but this is how we feel and we put our blood, sweat, and tears into this. So I think just opening up space for parents to organize and to be in community, you know, and have all those type of discussions. Also, I feel like it's also up to like leadership in schools, like adults and staff. I don't know, maybe because when COVID hit, I was in 8th grade and like they used to bring me papers home, but like I don't have any papers to bring home to my mom anymore. Like maybe because I'm a junior now, but like nobody knows about these things that's going on. Nobody knows about like assemblies, parent meetings, coffee with the principal. Like, so I feel like coming out of COVID, we have to transition from everything online and, you know, realize that we're back in person now and try to make things a little bit more accessible for like parents who may need hand copies and things like that.
Thank you. And now for our second question from the audience, and this will go to all panelists again. And the second question is from Khalid, and this question names the Beyond the Recovery platform, which is UTLA's contract bite. So the question is, how can the Beyond the Recovery platform help economic development in low-income communities of color to alleviate/eliminate gentrification and generational poverty? So in other words, how will UTLA use its power to address the deep economic injustices in our BIPOC students' communities? And we'll go with Cecily, Alex, Rosa, Denisha, then Dr. Abdullah, then Lakell.
First and foremost, thank you. Yes, Beyond Recovery is our contract campaign. And as we're doing that, we're doing something different than we did in 2019 in our strike. Instead of separating our common good proposals, we're putting everything in and we're saying that it's all wholesale. One of the pieces is talking about green space. Green space is super important because we know that gentrification is real and we've got to have that member education. As we are talking about Beyond Recovery, we've got to be forward facing to the public to let them know these things are happening. There's racialized capitalism happening. There's wealth inequality happening. All of these things are happening at once, which is like a tridemic. And so we have to be on the forefront as UTLA, as educators, and as communities. We cannot be afraid of our communities of color, especially our Black and Brown communities, and we need to definitely continue to organize, find those spaces and places to organize with Black folks, Black and Brown parents, so that we can move the message out there to the broader Los Angeles and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, very excited about our Beyond Recovery campaign. And yes, I mean, like in 2019, absolutely, we're pushing the envelope, right, around common goods. And Cecily's correct. We are not separating them because we feel that our working conditions are absolutely our students' learning conditions, and we have to make sure we hold to that. But we have proposals in there that are absolutely going to push back against, you know, the issues that are in the question around poverty. You know, we need to make sure that our schools are community hubs where our communities are going to be able to go and have access to resources and everything that particular community might need. Our students, of course. I mean, I can remember, you know, that was my haven, right? My safe haven was going to school after school and helping the teachers, you know, for hours at a time, because that was the place I knew I could be safe. So we want to make sure that we continue providing those situations where our community, our schools are definitely embedded into the community and help in that and provide a resource. But also more importantly as well, too, we have some incredible proposals pushing back against privatization. We know that privatization is absolutely a result of gentrification. So we want to protect our schools from co-locations and the privatization's attacks that is taking away valuable resources to our schools. Absolutely around, you know, green spaces. Absolutely, we need to make sure that our students are not baking out there in those concrete asphalts playgrounds and, you know, at 114-degree weather. I mean, we know that we need to address that, and we're making some great gains in that. So Beyond Recovery is
wrap up in 15 seconds.
No, UTLA continues to be a vehicle for social change and economic change and justice and climate justice. So I'm proud that that we've been on the trajectory to make sure that this continues happening, and Beyond Recovery is another way to get that done.
Is it me? Sorry, Denisha. Yeah, the demands are, you know, absolutely exciting. I think as Cecily and Alex said, I don't want to repeat that they are, you know, addressing issues that I think many of our communities are facing. But frankly, it's not enough, right? It's just the tip of the iceberg. What is most exciting to me is that we are continuing to build our muscles, right? Like our organizing muscles and our ability to come together as parents, students, teachers, and community members, because gentrification and poverty is like, as our union is not going to be able to, you know, get rid of that, right? It's going to require a massive movement here in Los Angeles and beyond to really challenge the forces that are causing this. And what we're doing by having these conversations, by organizing, by getting out in the streets, by building coalition, by all of this, right, while we're trying to win our campaign, is going to get us ready for the next fight and the next fight and the next fight. And there are some things that we are going to be able to get through our contract campaign, right? But other things we're not. And we're going to have to be, as a union, also ready to support community members and other folks when they ask for the things, right, that they need to make sure that we continue to push back against the forces that are trying to push out folks from LA and continue to do so.
Thank you.
I think all the folks that spoke before me really spoke to what Beyond Recovery will do. I'm going to take a different angle and state that Cecily mentioned racial capitalism. Poverty exists because of capitalism. Racism exists because of capitalism. And I'll say that UTLA's Beyond Recovery platform has allowed me as a member of UTLA and represent UTLA in what it's called Reclaim Our Economy. And it's a coalition of some of the organizations that UTLA have built relationships with, like CHRLA, Lane, ACE, Reclaim Our Schools, Los Angeles. These organizations, we've actually come together to actually devise a platform, for lack of a better word, a new economy for California, which we're actually working on as we speak. And I feel like it directly aligns with what we're asking for in Beyond Recovery. And just as Rosa stated, how we're not going to be able to get everything through Beyond Recovery to meet all the needs that are not only Los Angeles needs, but California as a state. But it's our hope that with our Reclaim economy, we'll be able to really tackle the real issue here, which is racial capitalism. Because we can fight till we're black and blue, but the reality is, until we address the real issue, which is capitalism, we're always going to be in this fight. And so I'm thankful that in the Beyond Recovery and what we're asking for, that's a really good start, and it's positioned us to, again, we talk about UTLA's influence with our power and our size. And that only helps this platform that we're trying to change as far as the California.
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
So I'm thankful that our Beyond Recovery platform has all those things in it, which is what we're also fighting for in the Reclaim Our Economy platform on a larger scale.
Thank you. And next we're going to hear from Lakell and then Dr. Abdullah.
Okay. I attended many of town halls, like when we were strategizing, putting up this new contract for UTLA. And I think that was the main thing in 2021 was like recovering from COVID. A lot of students, like even myself, lost parents during COVID. We like experienced loss, we weren't at school, it was hard, people had hard times at home. So I think just the plan overall for, UTLA going into their new contract was just rebuilding, because this really, COVID really broke down the world, and all the things that happened in 2020, I think were like very like damaging to people just as who they are as people. So I think that that's very important. And also like, I appreciate UTLA trying to get BSAP permanent. I feel like BSAP is a tool that should be all across UTL, all across LAUSD and permanently, not just, it shouldn't be iffy, we shouldn't be having to worry if we have to strategize to keep BSAP in schools. I think that's something that should be permanent, and it should be instilled in LAUSD all across.
I agree with everything that's been said, and just want to offer that UTLA is really at the forefront of the evolution of the labor movement, where labor, and I grew up as a daughter of a union member. My father was in the Carpenters Union. And I remember always thinking really positively about labor, and that was largely because there were always donuts at the meetings, right? So that did a lot for me. But labor then, and I was born in the 70s, right? Labor then was focused almost exclusively on the salaries and benefits of its members. And labor now, and one of the things UTLA has helped to usher in, is remembering that if we're fighting for working class people, that means fighting for our members and our non-members, right? And so when we talk about Beyond Recovery, what I'm really excited about with Beyond Recovery, as well as the last contract fight, is it's a demand that our contracts actually not just hold members, but also embrace our students in our community and fight for better communities and better conditions for working class people, whether they're members of this particular union or not. And so I think that also speaks to the last question that was asked about parental involvement. and then I'll be quiet, that with the last contract fight, I think this is why we saw, as was pointed to, so many parents being willing to not just be at the big marches, but be on the picket lines every single morning with the teachers, alongside the teachers, because we understood that these contract fights now embrace us too, not only the teachers.
Thank you. I just want to remind everyone that we will be ending at 7:30. We have just a few more questions from the audience, and then we'll make sure to make room for closing statements. Now for this third question from the audience, we're only going to give folks 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond. So this next question is from Michelle. It reads, some UTLA members say that the union has moved away from bread and butter issues. These conversations often feel rooted in anti-Blackness and anti-advocacy at the city, state, and national level. How will you address these criticisms while expanding social justice work and student and family supports? I'll read it one more time. Some UTLA members say that the union has moved away from bread and butter issues. These conversations often feel rooted in anti-Blackness and anti-advocacy at the city, state, and national level. How will you address these criticisms while expanding social justice work and student and family supports? The order that we're going to follow for this question will be Alex, Rosa, Denisha, Cecily, Dr. Abdullah, and then Lakell.
Thank you, Henry. Great question. Yes, one of the things I'm most proud of, and that we have been able to really push back against, is this idea that we are all about bread and butter as a union. As we moved and transformed from a service model union to a organizing, progressive union fighting for racial and social justice, we address this, and we continue to address it, like the question, like the member asking the question. We address this question, and we raise the issues around some of the stuff that's been said here, that our working conditions, our students' learning conditions, and our communities are definitely will benefit from us pushing the envelope around this idea of bread and butter. That's an antiquated way of organizing unions that no longer exist, that can no longer be the way we do business. We have to continue building our membership, raising awareness through political education, a broad political education program that really—
Please wrap up in 15 seconds.
That really tackles the idea that when we fight for salaries, we are also fighting for racial social justice as well, and both can happen at the same time with the right organizing behind it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a mama, as a single mom, like, hell yeah, I want bread and I want butter and I want all those things. Like, it's really hard to live in LA, and I think those things are important, and we need to listen to members when they say, like, hey, we need, we're struggling, and those are real, right? Those are real things. I think one thing as an organizer, like, we don't do this unless we're hopeful that people can change, right? And that systems can change. And that doesn't happen from one day to the other. And I think as UTLA, we've done incredible work to move the needle on folks understanding how these issues are interconnected. And we have more ways to go. And I think we need to keep hammering at it. We need to, like folks said, listening to students, listening to parents, having conversations about the intersection of these issues. And lastly, when we win, and I think as the strike did, right? Winning together, right, shows like what is possible, right? It shows that we can have all of it, right? We can win things.
Please wrap up in 15
address
seconds.
all these issues. So I think we're there in terms of those experiences, and we want to continue to have those experiences on the big level, but also at the small level, right, at our school sites. Well, how does it feel to get work
Thank you.
done that cover all those things? Thanks.
I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to be unapologetic about it. I believe in centering the needs of my students, and that's of all students. And if that's perceived as not looking out for members, then there's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to be unapologetic about where I stand. And when it comes to centering the needs of our students, that means we need more than bread and butter. We need a buffet, because not everybody, bread and butter won't feed everyone. And so when it comes to those naysayers, and that it is rooted in anti-Blackness, and that's part of the issue. And so I won't succumb to their narrative, and I'll just keep my narrative, which is I'm centering the needs of our students. And in centering the needs of our students, that means making sure that educators have everything that they need, and that our communities are able to have everything that they need in order to provide the best chances for our students to succeed.
Thank you for the question, Michelle. First and foremost, we as a union, we're on the forefront of this labor movement. And this labor movement has been progressive. And if we cower now, then we are not moving forward. If I'm going to say, I have lived with all of the criticisms about dealing with social justice, racial and social justice work. It is something that it is in me and my life's blood. This union will be progressive. This union will listen to Black and brown voices. This union will listen to students, but we also have to listen to our members. And to do that, we have to have one-on-one conversations. It is not enough to say that our working conditions are our students' learning conditions, because the working conditions are the students' living and learning conditions. And if we are centered in that, rooted in making sure that our students get everything we need, then we can withstand every attack that happens, because we are doing it on behalf of our students.
I think it's my turn now, right? Yeah. I just want to echo everything that's been said, and I'm writing down what you said, Denisha, about we don't need just bread and butter, we need a whole buffet. That is absolutely right. That's absolutely right. What folks try to do often is get us into the space of scarcity and fear, where we think that we can only fight for the wages and benefits of members. And somehow fighting for racial and social justice, as Cecily offered, is taking away from fighting for salaries and benefits. It's not. Those two things are complementary. By doing a good job for our students, for our communities and students then also understand how invested we are, how invested you are as teachers and counselors and librarians in their success. And so they're also saying, you know what, Miss Jordan, I don't want you to not be able to afford your rent. I want you to afford your rent so that you can come and love on my kid, right, in the way that they need to be loved on. So I think that it's imperative that we maintain this course of action where UTLA is at the forefront of being a racial and social justice union and demanding more for its members and also everyone else.
I feel like fighting for only salary increases is very problematic. I know many UTLA members who are fully down with the union and is down to support UTLA, but they don't support students like myself or students deserve. And I feel like that's very problematic, because yes, it's very important for you to get everything you deserve. You went to school a long time, you got your degree, and you teach us and you support us. That's very important. But having our needs around social and racial justice met is very important also. So, yes, Students Deserve is always down to support UTLA and help them get to where they're going. And just how you guys are always down to support us. But I think that's very also important to remember is hold your union leaders accountable. Tell them you need to listen to Black youth, you need to support them, not just things surrounded around the union. I think that's very important.
Thank you. All righty, it is time for our closing statements. It's looking like we may go a couple minutes over, it happens. And so actually, we'd like our candidates to incorporate a fourth and final audience question from Princess into your closing statement. We make things interesting here. So you'll have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and we're going to start with Rosa, Denisha, Cecily, then Alex. And then Dr. Abdullah and Lakell will also have an opportunity for a closing statement. So here is the question from Princess. As we are trying to build on the racial justice wins we've gained over the past 3 years and having one-on-one conversations with our colleagues, what should we tell them about you that will help them understand the necessity of voting for you in this election? For example, what can we tell them that will distinguish your platform from other seemingly progressive candidates? So go ahead and incorporate this into your closing statement, and we're starting with Rosa.
Well, thanks. First of all, I am very excited to be running with the team that includes Cecily and Denisha and Georgia Flowers-Lee and Jen McAfee and Julie Van Winkle, Maria Miranda. And I think that that's really important here, right? And I think that this team is committed to supporting our first Black Chicana president of UTLA is critical. So I'm proud to be part of the team, and I'm excited to move the work forward as an immigrant. I think that's a big distinction for me. And as I've said, I've been doing this work for the last 15 years. I'm committed to listening to students and parent voices. And as a Chicana mom, single mom, I'm always asking myself, and I would continue to ask myself, what does it mean to be not an ally, but a co-conspirator, right, in this work? We have a lot of work to do, and I will continue to seek the voice of our students in our community and to ask, what do we need, right? What do we need to do? And I truly believe that if we center our students, our Black youth, our queer youth, our immigrant youth, they will lead the way on this. And right now, that means committing to fully funding and providing support for BSAP and community schools and supports for immigrant rights and all those things. And as secondary vice president, I will commit to do that.
First, again, thank you. Feel honored to be on this panel with so many folks that are for the fight for racial and social justice. And thank you, attendees, for giving up your time this evening to listen to us and hear what we have to say. I'll go back. Oh, and also, again, thank you for, I'm glad that I'm on a wonderful team, as Rosa stated, that we have the same values, the same goals, and the same commitments. We believe in centering students first. And we also believe that we're committed to continue this fight for racial justice and that we won't back down. And we believe in a buffet and not just bread and butter, and that we're unapologetic about it. As treasurer, I'll make sure that, one, that UTLA remains solvent, but also that we increase our revenues so that we can provide what has been mentioned here as far as resources and funding to educate not only our members, but to provide resources and opportunities for our communities. Also continue the relationship that we've built with Students Deserve and our neighboring community organizations. And I just feel that with that, we have the power to lead this union into where we can transform the future of education.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, and I have a team. It's called Unity and Strength. Denisha, Rosa, Maria, Georgia, Jen, and Julie, and myself. Folks who are proven leaders and fighters. We said one thing that was super clear, and it is listen to Black students, listen to Black youth. I'm asking as a Black Latina to listen to me as a candidate for president, that elect the team that I need, that is going to build power on the sites, to actually incorporate recruiting and retaining new educators, that we are going to listen to student voices. It is not enough to stay with folks, so forth and so on. And I'm gonna say that change is good. We have done change before and we can change again. And I'm asking y'all to vote for my team, Unity and Strength. And let's get out that vote. It is so important to listen to our youth. It is so important to listen to our members, and let us continue to fight for racial and social justice in every single thing we do, using a racial and social justice lens. That is so important. And please, please, please get out the vote. That is so important. Thank you.
So I'll just offer that normally, oh, is it my turn? Or was
Sorry,
it
Dr.
Alex's
Abdullah.
turn? Sorry.
Go ahead, Alex.
Sorry about that. Well, first of all, it's been a pleasure being here. Really appreciate you all spending the time listening to all of us. Politically, you're not going to find much differences between the candidates here. I respect everyone here, and I definitely see this as a result of the great work we've all been doing towards, taking UTLA into the next level of transformation and fighting for social and racial justice across the city and the country and the world, essentially. I come with experience as an officer, as a director, as a leader. I definitely am proud of what we've been able to accomplish. We referenced 2014 as the transformation start of UTLA, and that took a lot of, systemic organizing, intentional approach to the work. I'm committed to that. We've been transformative. I bring a spirit that is unwavering, along with my partner that's running with me, Gloria Martinez. She is running for treasurer. She's currently the vice president of elementary schools. We definitely bring the experience. We know how to win. We have led us through a pandemic, led us through a strike. I bring the perspective as a parent of two LAUSD students, as a student myself who came here as an immigrant child in the second grade and bounced around from school to school, trying to find our place. I can relate to what our members and our students go through. My wife's an elementary teacher, who many of you know. So I definitely
Please wrap up in 15
I
seconds.
definitely understand the perspective of the struggle. And just before I wrap up, Gloria Martinez would have loved to have been here, but she is dealing with a personal a medical situation with her father, who just had a stroke, and she is the caretaker for him right now. So she apologizes. Thank you.
Now it's me, right? Yeah. Okay. So just to close, we normally in Black Lives Matter space, bless you, as well as in my classroom space, we generally open by setting intentions, by grounding ourselves, by summoning in spiritual energy. And I want to do that as we close, I want to make sure that we close in honor of Keenan Anderson, in honor of Oscar Leon Sanchez, in honor of Takar Smith, and Takar Smith in particular. You know that these are 3 lives that were stolen by LAPD in the first 3 days of January. We know that Takar Smith has 3 children who are LAUSD students. And what I want to uplift again is those words that I'm going to be quoting often from Sister Denisha, that we don't have to just take bread and butter. We can demand a buffet. What we've seen from UTLA is you all wrap your arms around Takar Smith's 3 children. You all offer not just counseling and a safe haven for them as they deal with the terrible murder of their father, but also do things that are important for his family, like make sure they're eating, right? Make sure that his wife has the funds she needs to bury her husband. And so we didn't open with that, but I opened my day talking with Sister Shamika Smith, Takar's wife. And I want to make sure that we uplift those spirits. And as we struggle forward and commit ourselves to being focused on racial and social justice, that we know that it's not just theory, that this impacts the actual lives of the students and communities that we say that we love. So I'm grateful to be in community with UTLA, and I'm grateful for your vision in making UTLA truly a force for good in this world.
I like to say thank you for having me here. I rush you after a basketball game. Oftentimes when I'm asked to do things like this, like I'm a little nervous. I'm like, oh my God, me. But I just want to thank you all for having me here. So as I mentioned earlier, how like sometimes people are falling off supporting Black youth and being and hitting the streets with us. Here's your opportunity. So Students Deserve, we're ramping up in February and March. We have huge plans. So we've been collecting surveys, and we're going to release the date to the media during Black History Month, creating pressure on Carvalho to expand BSAP and mental health supports. We're going to get students to attend, and some will be speaking at UTLA's huge March 15th action at Grant Park. If Carvalho hasn't responded to our Black History Month survey press conference or to our March 15th action by the 16th of March, then we're gonna hit him up at public comment on March 21st. You know, we're gonna go directly to him and like, here, you need to listen. Now you have no other option but to listen to us. And we are also working with UTLA to endorse school board candidate Rivas on a motion to defund school police later in the spring. You can follow our Instagram at LA_Students Deserve. Again, that's LA_Students Deserve. You can also, if you're a parent, you can also find the link to the survey and kind of just give your input and things that you want to see from the school district and things that you want to see for your Black babies. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much to all of our panelists. We really appreciate you all making time tonight, this evening, to join us in conversation and to lay out your vision for racial justice. Before folks hop off, we just want to make sure that everyone knows when the election is and how to vote. So the elections for UTLA officers will begin on February 7th. Voting will be online only, meaning no paper ballots will be sent to your home and no paper ballots can be requested. You will receive an email with your PIN by February 7th, and you have until the 28th of February at 8 a.m. to submit your ballots. And then also just a reminder about our next Educators for Racial Justice meeting. If folks can please mark your calendars for Monday, March 6th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. But yes, this concludes tonight's forum. Thank you so much again, everyone. Thank you to our panelists. Everyone have a great night. Thank you.